I'm tired of, having these thoughts and wanting to see difference and wanting to see change. You see these movies come out like, The Sound of Freedom. You see Jeffrey Epstein and his story coming out. And people will talk about it incessantly. They'll talk, this is bad, that is bad.
And then they sit down at dinner and they eat.
It's just a talk. Yeah, nothing ever happens. And it's like, if people are so affected by it, like they'll cry in that movie and then they'll do nothing. And even myself, like I've been personally affected by it. And it goes deeper than what I even mentioned on this podcast so far. And it's like, I feel like I'm not doing anything about it either. And so it's like, how do I inspire and how do I create that actual change? And I wonder if it's not through, a leadership of example and sacrifice. Like, do I get to the ultimate stage? Do I get to that level of fame and notoriety? Do I achieve my big goal and then sacrifice all the possibility to become a member of one of the agencies or forces that actually go hands-on and go and retrieve people and turn over these shiploads of people, and we'll find trucks of people crossing the border that have been sexually abused and are used for human trafficking or as drug mules and are trapped in these environments, and actually make a change? Is that how I make the difference?
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Kickin podcast with Rex. Today, I talk with Red Alejandro Torress. He is a buddy of mine. We train together at Tampa Muay Thai, and he is one of the people in the gym who definitely inspire me, not just with his actions, but with his approach to life. I've spoken with him several times, just throughout the years, just kind of casually, just about fighting, about just growing as a human being, but it wasn't until I sat down actually with him that I realized just how deep his story goes. And it made me realize that you never know what someone is going through. You look at people and you see on the surface that they may seem fine, yet you have no idea the level of destruction that goes on in their minds and their hearts and the demons that they face every single day. Whether they've dealt with the demons or not, the fact of the matter is, every single person that you see on the streets that is smiling, that is laughing, is going through something. And it just served to me as a reminder to continuously be as thankful as possible. So as we start the closeout of the year 2023, as we head towards 2024, I just want to invite you all to just find 3 things every single day to be thankful for. And they can be serious things to be thankful for or be silly things to be thankful for. For example, I am thankful that chopsticks exist because I was raised using them and it's made eating very simple for me. Whereas when I watch other people use chopsticks, it's actually very, very funny to watch them struggle. And it gives me a certain amount of joy and a certain amount of pride that I know how to use this utensil that other people don't seem to know how to use. But it's the simple things in life that make life worth it. It's the little things. We often chase after the big things, but in doing so, we forget that all a big thing is just a bunch of little things that happened together to create the larger thing. And the only way that we're going to remember to be thankful for the little things is to actually sit back and continuously find new things to be thankful for. This conversation with Alejandro Torress definitely taught me a lot about life, about the things that go on in this world, and we discuss a lot about philosophy of light and dark, good and evil, and the will of man. This conversation gets pretty deep, and I hope you all enjoy diving deep into the human soul together with Alejandro and I. That being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And as always, have a great day. This is the Kickin' podcast.
How you doing?
Doing great. so far, I feel really good.
Awesome. Welcome, man. Welcome.
Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. I've actually been wanting to talk to you for a little while now because I've So the reason I brought you on is because I just stumbled onto your Instagram one day, and then I stumbled onto your website, and I started looking like, oh, this guy's actually like doing like some pretty interesting things, like as far as like coaching, training, and personal development is concerned. And I'm always enjoy talking to, especially martial artists, but also people who are like working on, well, people who are leaders or like working to become leaders, or just people who are doing interesting things. And I want to get to learn more about what it is that you're doing. All right, so if you could just give me like a brief rundown about who you are, what you do with your business, and just anything else you want to throw in there, and free plugs as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
My name's Alejandro. I am 24 years old. I've been doing personal training and coaching for the past, about 4, almost 5 years now.
Oh, wow.
I, grew up all over the place. I'm an Air Force brat, and I've been a mixed martial artist for the past 6 years. I've always wanted to be a fighter since I was 15 years old. And, if we're talking about, what kind of has branched into or led me down the path of pursuing, things that you reference, like trying to become a leader, trying to impact, the people around me in a positive way, or becoming a coach, I'd say that it was the goal that actually, or the only long-term goal that predated my want to be a fighter, which was my desire to be a good father. I want to be the best father I can possibly be one day. And I understand that that's going to require a lot of me, especially in my current time, because I need to essentially delve into becoming the best person and the best man that I can be, so that way one day I can instill and kind of distill this wisdom that I accrue over my formative years, and then give it to my children one day. So the goal is generational at a certain point. I want to accrue enough wisdom and experience and help enough people and develop enough community that one day I can, pass a level of security via that community and via the wisdom that I accrue onto my next of kin. So it's very much a generational goal. But I will also say that, as far as what I'm, doing currently to try and delve into that is I lost my job about 5 months ago. And I would say that I was fired, but I gave them notice, and then they decided to let me go early. So, I'd rather say that I quit.
You can't fire me, I quit.
Technically,
or actually, it's more like you can't quit, we fire you.
Yeah, exactly. And I decided to try my own hand at, basically a similar business breakdown of what I've been doing. Although that was more traditional, like personal one-on-one training. It was a private training facility. So I decided, I'm gonna launch into online. Seems like that's the future. I'm gonna launch redsretroverse.com, and essentially it was meant to be a platform for people to connect and, replace that lack of a coming of age ceremony and tradition that we have here in America. We don't have it. So, and as a fighter and as a warrior, it was very hard for me to find my place and find a gym and find the actual culture that I wanted to, in order to develop and cultivate the man that I wanted to become. And I found out and realized that, through trial and error and experimentation, but it took me like 3-4 years to find a gym that I was like, hell yeah, this is it. This is where I want to be. This is where I can see myself becoming the person I want to be. It took me that long to find a good gym in Tampa Muay Thai. Like, I bounced around from Cool Muay Thai. I did Premier Martial Arts up in Pennsylvania. I tried out multiple other fighting gyms. I tried title boxing at one point in time. I was a coach over there. I realized there's this massive gap in the market. So I want to fulfill and connect people to martial arts schools and places where they're going to match the culture and whatnot eventually with Reds Retroverse. At the moment, it looks like it's going to be more of a personal brand campaign. I do have things like, the Warriors package, or, the pupils or the students package on there, which are, it's a program that I've already developed and created, and it's already, set in stone. It's formatted for people to go through like a 3-month course in which they're going to go through a spiritual, a mental, and a body journey. So it's basically a 3-month, like, really submersive course. But I realized, that was very adventurous. That was very ambitious of me to start like, we're going to change your life in 3 months. And I've been doing this for 3 months. So that's why I said, like, at this point, I'm reassessing, going to have to change it back to, more of a personal brand. So at the moment, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to become the man that's worthy of leading people, the man that's worthy of, showing people a path that's gonna bring them a better life, a better future, and overall just connect them more deeply to themselves. Because on my current journey through fighting, that's all I'm doing. Like, before every fight, I seek to accept death. And it's different every time, because every time you accept it, and then you live more life. And when you live more life, you accrue more reasons to live, and you accrue more reasons to die in a weird way too. And so I was thinking about this past fight camp, and I treat it like, I'm about to die. I make sure that I'm good with my family. I go and visit them, and I talk to them, and I enjoy their time. And they don't know that I'm doing this, but like I'm preparing. Like, I'm like, if these are the last words that like they're gonna hear from me, then I want them to be genuine. I want them to be honest. I want them to be kind, and I want them to show how deeply meaningful and connected I am to our relationship. And so, I've made my trips, from my cousin's house to my aunt's house to my mom's house. I've made sure that my dog is in the hands of someone I care and trust. And I've sorted out in my own mind and like in my own household everything, and I'm ready to let it all go, because the worst case scenario is that you step in that ring and you die. So when I go in there, I am prepared to die, but I'm fighting to live.
There's a lot to unpack there, and I have at least 12 questions.
Let's get into it.
I'm going to start with why. Why is personal training, why is helping people, why is doing what you're doing, why is this brand, why is that so important to you that you're throwing everything you have at it?
Well, it started because as a kid, I never really knew my father, my biological father. I had a stepdad, and he was, as far as like, if you wanted a role model that was a man and was like, willing to sacrifice and just like put his nose to the fucking grindstone and work till his fingers bled and, do whatever it took to keep the family fed and taken care of. Excellent role model, like such a good role model. And that's where I got a lot of my work ethic from. Like, I'll work until I'm broken, and then I'll keep working. Like, I don't care. Like, I've broken toes, fuck it, keep sparring. I've, injured a lot of parts of my body, and never do I stop working. I've had
blood pouring down your face.
There you go. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'd say probably the most inspiring thing to myself when I think back on it is I've had like intercostal tears like between the ribs, like the muscle and whatnot, or I've had like a dislocated rib at one point in time.
Oy.
Yeah, I know. And
Chase kicked you?
No, that was like a knee from Chris, I think, when I was first starting.
Chris is a big dude.
I know.
Yeah.
He's a big dude. And his knees are nasty.
Yeah.
Nasty knees. And I don't think he knows how to throw with the inside of the thigh just yet.
Hasn't he been doing this longer than all of us?
Yeah, but you just can't change some things.
For sure. All right, but
yeah.
Your stepfather, role model.
Yes, he was a good role model, taught me work ethic. And the most inspiring story I can think back on of my own is when I had that dislocated rib. I still showed up to practice, and I would literally keep this side like immobile as much as I could, and I would only throw the left side, and I would drill on the bag for like an hour at a time and just throw that left side, and I got really good at it. But back to my biological father, I never knew him because when I was very young, my mom discovered that he was not the person she thought she'd married. He was actually a rapist and a pedophile.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So.
The two worst things you could.
Right.
Two of the worst things.
Right. And so I kind of grew up with this.
Did you know as a kid that?
I found out.
At what age?
When I was like 8, 9, I found out.
I'm afraid to ask, how did you find out?
So
if you're okay with.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with it. So he had abused like some family, like friends or friends of the family and whatnot. And I wasn't aware of this at the time, but essentially I discovered it once, like while witnessing like an emotional breakdown of one of those family friends. And then it's just like at a certain point, it's like your parents, like my mom, she was like, we gotta kind of tell you what's going on here, what the story is.
At 8 years old.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think she told me the story at that point. I think that's when I first understood something was seriously wrong, and I understood who it was connected to. And then later on down the line, when I was older, maybe, like 12, 13, she explained what it actually was. And so I was definitely burdened by that, and I was haunted by the fact that this was what I felt was my legacy. Eventually I came to realize that it's not my legacy, it's not my burden to bear.
Yeah.
Because they're not my sins.
That's that's your dad.
Exactly.
That's not you.
But it haunted me for a long time, and that's what propelled me into athletics, because it was physical work and like just hard work in the gym was the only thing that would help me process the intense moments of like rage and anger that I felt towards him. Like I definitely suffered from like, a level of PTSD because it affected me in other ways too,
100%.
Yeah, so I was very angry. I was a very angry child. And so when I realized how deprived I felt due to that lack of a father, and due to not only the lack of a father, but the precedent which had been set as, my father is a monster, and I need to overcome this legacy because that's how I initially felt.
Did you feel like that was your future?
No.
Okay.
No. I felt very angry, and I felt like I needed to do my absolute best to separate myself from that past. So I worked as hard as I could, and I set my goal as the exact opposite of what he was. I wanted to be the best father possible. And so, a lot of the steps I've taken in life have been to become that father figure that, I want to be for my kids one day, because he wasn't it for me.
Are you still in contact with him?
No. I saw the most contact I've ever had with him was I saw his Instagram about 2, maybe 1.5, 2 years ago now. And it was like a massive relief because I had built him into a monster in my head, and he haunted me for a while. And I look at his Instagram, and I look through it, I'm scrolling through it, I'm like, this guy is a fucking loser. Like, the pictures he has are of like this disgusting apartment, like strange, like anime type drawings. He's like way overweight. He doesn't look like he takes care of himself. He's just like a fucking loser. And I look at him and I'm like, holy shit, I've been working my ass off to overcome this built up image of like the worst monster I could think of in my head. And now I see him on this screen, and I'm like, I overcame and surpassed this fucking loser years ago. Like when I was a teenager, I was better than this guy. And it kind of took that burden off my shoulders.
That's a pretty intense story, because I don't think people actually realize like the amount of effects that you have on just people in general. Even like if you don't do anything to hurt someone, just your very existence and the very life that you lead has a major effect on the people around you, whether you're aware of it or not. Like it may sound a little conceited of me, but I do my very best nowadays. Not always, because I used to be a piece of shit, which I still deal with in here sometimes.
I can relate.
But like I try to make it a point that like whoever like leaves my presence becomes at least a better person for having been in my presence a little bit. Whether it's just like buying them an apple juice from the coffee shop downstairs. Just I hope that I could like give good deeds that lead to other people giving good deeds that continuously makes the world a better place.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for sharing that. That is wow. So your personal brand is I don't know if I'm not sure if it sounds like you're trying to surpass your father, you're fighting against your father, because it sounds like you've already come to peace with that, right?
Yeah, I've outpaced that. Now it's more about delving into the depths of who I can become as a person. So I took the advice of Jordan Peterson, and I set my sights on the highest possible good I can achieve or could achieve. And with the talents I've been blessed with, I believe that is one day to become a world champion, and use that platform to basically try my damnedest to, put a dent in evil and, fight for the light in this world. And what evil? Human trafficking specifically.
Oh.
That's what I want to fight towards. And I've contemplated this a lot. Like, how am I going to do it? Like, am I going to get to that stage, and when I finally win and they like put the mic up to my face, am I going to like, give a victory speech, or am I going to like, insert like a number in which like, like if you're currently being held captive, like dial, this is the number you dial, and you can reach out and find help.
A Patty Pimblett moment.
Yeah, very small. That's very subtle, but like, is there a deeper way for me to connect to people? And I think that's truly going to be the only change is going to occur through the change in people's hearts, and the only one that's going to be consistent and will actually like propagate itself through the world. So I think I need to develop my communication skills to a level at which I can give impactful speeches and maintain and use that platform to develop a voice for the people, and for people that are suffering through, whether or not it's something like what I had to suffer through, which is the legacy of being connected to one of those people that have done something so egregiously harmful to others in the past, or whether or not I can help the people suffering from someone via sexual abuse or human trafficking, or just inspire people to get involved in actually creating change. Because one thing that really it hurts, because I myself am guilty of this, despite my unique and very close connection to sexual abuse and trauma. It makes me kind of sick that I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I don't feel like I'm making the impact that I want to, and I don't feel like I'm actively pursuing the good that I want to see propagated in the world, despite the fact that I have a plan to, and I feel like I need to execute it. I think that the time for personal responsibility and understanding that you can't just talk about something, you have to do something, and you can't just think about something, you have to act on your thoughts, has definitely come for me. And I'm tired of having these thoughts and wanting to see difference and wanting to see change. You see these movies come out like The Sound of Freedom. You see Jeffrey Epstein and his story coming out, and people will talk about it incessantly. They'll talk, this is bad, that is bad,
and then they sit down at dinner and they eat.
It's just a talk. Yeah, nothing ever happens. And it's like, if people are so affected by it, like they'll cry in that movie and then they'll do nothing. And even myself, like I've been personally affected by it. And it goes deeper than what I even mentioned on this podcast so far. And it's like, I feel like I'm not doing anything about it either. And so it's like, how do I inspire and how do I create that actual change? And I wonder if it's not through,
a leadership of example and sacrifice. Like, do I get to the ultimate stage? Do I get to that level of, like, fame and notoriety? Do I achieve my big goal and then sacrifice all the possibility to become, like, a member of one of the agencies or forces that actually go hands-on and go and retrieve people and turn over these shiploads of people, and we'll find, like, trucks of people crossing the border that have been sexually abused and are used for human trafficking or as drug mules and are trapped in these environments, and actually make a change? Is that how I make the difference? Like, right now I'm at a point where I'm struggling to figure out the most effective way for me to leverage who I am and what I can provide to become an influential person in that without compromising the safety and future of my family. So it's like, even though that family's hypothetical, it's just like, man, it's a lot to juggle, and it's like, you have to honestly delve deep into the hard questions, and I know it's going to take years for me to actually accomplish the level of, let's say, knowledge and understanding that it'll be necessary for me to actually move properly towards that goal. It's a very difficult goal to achieve, but I think it's the constant progress towards it, despite how small these steps are and despite how disappointing it may seem. I think if we all keep taking steps further, then the goal becomes reality eventually.
Can I ask why specifically human trafficking? Because sexual abuse can come in many shapes and forms. It could come from, like, rapists. It could come from just I guess, human trafficking is another one of them. It could come from just alcoholism. It could just come from just people stuck in poverty. There's so many ways that people suffer from various forms of sexual abuse. Yeah. Human trafficking obviously being a big one. Why specifically that one? What made you choose that specific scenario? Because that's a topic that fascinates me a lot. So I actually wrote a college paper on it, on Moose, just looking deep into that world of moving kids from, like, Asia to, like, around the world, and then some parts of, like, South America, and it is a multi-trillion-dollar industry that operates, like, just under the radar, that happens all the time. People don't, like, it happens, like, in this city that we're in, there's a lot of human trafficking in every major city that people are unaware of. It happens. Modern day slavery. If there's an Asian massage parlor in your neighborhood, there's a 99% chance that's human trafficking happening right there. And a lot of police work just actually goes into shutting these down. But believe it or not, police shutting down Asian massage parlors puts no dent on human trafficking at all. Yeah. Because because what usually happens is some guys running to become sheriff, some guys running to become mayor, some guys running to become, like, some leader within a city, and then they put on a show of arresting a bunch of drug dealers, arresting a bunch of prostitutes, shutting down some massage parlors, and then, but as soon as they get back into the office, all of that stuff comes right back, which is why it has no effect, because they're not tackling the problem at the source. It's just they're just tackling the problem of what looks good to the public, and I have a huge problem with that. Yeah. Sorry, back to you. But so just like I find it really interesting that you're choosing specifically human trafficking. So I'm curious as to why. And this is not the direction I thought this conversation was going to go.
Well, I think what you were talking about just now touches base into exactly why I want to attack that problem. And while it is personal to me because of, like, my past with my father, and how I can see how just his level of abuse would affect someone, and how it would like influence their life in a very negative way. You rob a child of their innocence, and it has lifelong ramifications.
It's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah. And so I think it branched into that for me because I recognized what he had done as evil. And when I think about, or when I try and contemplate the idea of evil in our society, I think that the purest form of that would be represented in human trafficking.
you're taking your fellow brothers and sisters, and I am a Christian, so like in my eyes and in the eyes of God, I think we're all brothers and sisters. So, you take your fellow brothers and sisters and you subjugate them, and you do with them as you will for profit or greed or for whatever number of the 7 deadly sins you choose to exploit them. And so I think it's one of the purest forms of evil that we can recognize and attempt to abolish in order to propagate a more, a healthy society in which we live in. Well, I'll say like for general purposes, it's the light, but for me, it's the light of God. I want to propagate, and I want to be a good Christian in the way that I do spread light and love and happiness and peace to the lands that I live in. And so I think that what you were touching base on whenever it comes to the fact that you may, cut a portion of the snake off, or it's kind of like a hydra, right? Like you cut one head off and another one grows.
I think it's more like a dangerous lizard where you cut off the tail and you do damage to it, but it just grows the tail right back.
Exactly. So I think the reason for that is because it's rooted within the psyche of our society and within the psyche of an international and a worldwide society, is that we all have this almost biological, like ancient part of ourselves that recognizes the malleability of human value, and it's a battle of morality versus instinct when it comes to understanding the value of people around you. I think we all operate in a hierarchical system, but there are boundaries that I think that should be employed morally whenever it comes to truly assessing the value of people. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to achieve the balance between the light and the dark. So while I may be fighting this battle, I do believe, if history is any indicator, that if anything, what I may accomplish is a slight turn in the tide, and then it'll come back, much like the ocean. The tides come and they recede. But fuck it. I mean, I think that's a worthwhile reason to live my life in opposition towards evil, even if I only move humanity half a step forward. At least I did something. But I think that what you were saying, like, it's deep-rooted. It's deep-rooted, and you have to affect the roots. And maybe I take a half an inch forward on the roots of the problem, but maybe I inspire 1,000 other people to also move a half an inch forward. Then I think that like it's such a massive problem. But you can't just fucking sit there. Like, you can't do nothing. Like, you have to fight. You have to move forward, and you have to go for it. Even if it's overwhelming, it doesn't matter. Like, are you gonna waste your fucking life just feeling impudent and useless because you fucking know that there are problems, you know that there's something that's not working, and you're gonna sit there and say, oh, well, it's too big, I might as well just let it work itself out? Fucking be a minimal part of the solution. If that's all you can be a fucking minimal part of it, because the worst outcome is that you accomplish nothing, but you fucking tried. And the best outcome is that you fucking like save someone's life, you change someone's life. Why the fuck wouldn't you do it? Unless you're just so selfish and like your life is utterly devoid of any meaning other than your own self-gratification and satisfaction, or your own self-preservation, that you don't have what it takes to make that step happen. Which I understand. I'm not going to judge anyone that's a coward. It's like everyone's got their flaws and everyone's got their sins to bear. Like you said earlier, you struggle with being a piece of shit person. I've definitely been a piece of shit person. And, man, my sins are more along the lines of probably adultery. Too many ladies. But, I'm trying. I'm just a human trying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So are you trying to like make up for the adultery right now, or?
I'm trying to get better at it. These ladies just keep throwing themselves at me, though. I'm like, stop.
If you're a hunter and a deer walks into the front of your gun,
I know,
and looks down the barrel of the gun, do you pull the trigger?
I know. I literally had some girl that I matched with on Hinge, which is supposed to be like,
the last dating app you'll ever need.
Yeah. That's like supposed to be the good one, right? Like,
it's turned into another Tinder.
It is.
Every dating app devolves into Tinder.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Mm-hmm. But she literally texted, like, her first message to me was, can I be your arm candy for your next fight? I was like, all right.
If there's time at the end of this conversation, we'll touch on the whole female thing. Female, male, I don't know.
Gender dynamics.
It's such a complex topic, and I watch way too many
always has been
videos about it.
Me too.
whether it's the Whatever podcast or Fresh and Fit, or I'm
crazy.
listening to like Jordan Peterson talk about it, but it's the whole gender discussion. I want to clarify, like, it's not a new phenomenon. For people who think like, oh, this like trans stuff is new, like, no, like, the whole definition of male and female goes back centuries, goes back millennia. There's writings about how to be a good man and good woman.
Yeah. In
the Bible, in the Quran, in the Torah, in the Sanskrit scriptures of Hinduism. Like, it's like gender roles have always been a part of discussion of the human race for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people ignore that, and they think that the only reason we have gender roles now is because feminism rose up in the 60s with women burning their bras on college campuses, and now that women have found their independence, that gender dynamics is something new. Like, no, that's actually not the case. Like, you don't write rules of how to be a good human being if you're not trying to solve a specific problem.
Yeah.
And one of the specific problems is just that because prostitution and like bad women and good women and judgmentalism, it's littered throughout the Old Testament. And that's biblical times, before Christ. And I think that just not just gender roles, just clearly defining a human role is very instrumental in solving a lot of the evil that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I'm just gonna put this out there because you actually mentioned a huge part of solving evil, solving human trafficking is that it's going at the roots and just how deep it is. It's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Human trafficking exists in the 21st century because we've built a culture that accepts it. And we as a people, the regular folks on the streets, they didn't do it on purpose, but they've played a part in it by not doing anything about it while knowing that it exists. And I would say that I'm not going to say we're 100% guilty because obviously it's the cartels, the traffickers, the abusive parents. Actually, here's an interesting thing I didn't think about. There are actually some girls who actually escape, who go into prostitution because they're escaping North Korea or Cuba. And they do that because that's actually a better alternative than living in those countries, which blows my mind. I'm like, is that even a problem then? It's like, if I solve human trafficking, do I take away these girls' like exit strategies to North Korea?
Yeah.
But then I also think about like, I can't think about that because whatever reason you're doing it, human trafficking and slavery is still a net negative on society.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing it just because you had a rough upbringing and that's the only way you know how to make money, or you're escaping North Korea because it's a better alternative. I think that's looking at those as solutions is a distraction to the underlying cultural problem, which I think is just a culture of poverty and genders human trafficking. And I think that poverty, not in terms of money, but in terms of mindset, is the thing that needs to be solved in order to solve things like human trafficking. What are your thoughts on that?
I think
Sorry, there's a lot of things.
No, I think you're correct. The human mindset is the integral part of all of our problems, and human trafficking, of course, is, I think the correlation is definitely there. what I like to, so the thing is that there are multiple angles at which you can dissect this problem. I think that the broadest angle in this scenario is likely the most impactful because it's the most generalized and most applicable to all of those other separate lenses through which you can view the problem. And I think it kind of the Taoist concept of yin and yang encompass it, in which you have the teardrop shape of the light and the teardrop shape of the dark, and in the center of each you have the balance points, which are like there's dark and light and there's light and dark. They're necessary for each other, and they're necessary for us as people. Now we're touching base onto the realities of our world as a whole, and I think that it is a world in which contrast is necessary, and dark is necessary for light, and love is necessary for hate. Otherwise, us as people, our senses are based on changes in the environment. Like, it gets warm enough and you forget that it was hot when you entered the room. It gets cold enough and you forget that it was cold when you entered the room, right? So you adapt and you adjust, and we are the most adaptable creatures on this planet. I think that's why we're the apex predators of this planet. So you have to recognize that there's a level of evil that's necessary for freedom of will. We love freedom, but it's like, I think there's a balance. So it might not necessarily be that, we should only fight for light, despite the fact that I feel like I am a person that should fight for light. I think that it's kind of necessary that you have people that fight for the evil in the world or fight for the dark in the world. And
go deeper into that part.
I think that every man's version of reality comes to a point at which you have to formulate it. You have to create your version of reality in this world. And so the fact that there are competing interests when it comes to the reality that we're going to propagate is it's a testament to the flawed nature of the world that we live in. I do believe in an afterlife, and I question whether or not in this reality we are challenged by evil to truly develop our ability to bring about light. I think that it's light and dark, and that it's just really a question of light and dark. And if there's one pinprick of darkness within the light, then it can spread like an infection. Just like if you had a cut and it was infected, it can get to your heart and kill you. A pinprick of dark will spread to an ocean of white, and a pinprick of white will spread to an ocean of dark. So it's beyond, I think, the human capability to truly implement a solution to this conundrum. And I actually, if I really am honest, and I hate to say this, I really, really hate to say this, but if I'm honest and I don't lie to myself, which I want to, I want to lie to myself really badly on this, I think that the world is designed to be evil and good. And
why is that so bad?
Because I hate it when I got to deal with evil. It's selfish.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm like,
but if it doesn't rain, you don't appreciate the sun.
You're right, but I don't want my children to be raped. It's my
I don't want that either.
I know you're not saying that, but my head goes to the darkest scenario, right? It's like I'm fighting so that way my children don't ever have to deal with, or that their probability of dealing with what I would view as the worst possible outcome for them, which would be enslavement, rape, and death. I'm fighting so they don't have to deal with that in the future. But it's at the same time, man, the world is designed to be evil, and I can probably attest to a unique level of darkness that I've delved into within myself. Because I fight for light, but I may fight for light out here, but I fight as much for light inside myself. Because I mean, fuck, man, I look in my own eyes sometimes in the mirror, and I see the darkness. I see that fucking evil. It's there. I know that there's a point and there's a limit, and I can be manipulated by the factors of my environment to a degree where I could become an evil person that the me that I am now would see and be disgusted by. Like, I know that we all have the capability, and I have the capability, and I see it within myself, and I fight for the light, but it's like, at the same time, that darkness is tempting, and it's like, when I enter into that ring, I gotta be honest, I channel that darkness.
Oh, you channel it.
Yeah.
You beat the fuck out of your last opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, if that wrath and fury exists within me, and if I channel that level of darkness, you know, what's its utility? Is it truly a testament or like a test of God to see whether or not we can triumph over our own evils? And are the triumphs of our over external evil truly, is that truly a testament to your character more than it is to triumph over internal evil, like Mahatma Gandhi? You know, living life as a monk, as peaceful as possible, you know, letting people kill you if necessary, if that means that you reach enlightenment? Or do you seek to externalize the enlightenment? I think that, unfortunately, the grimmest version of this reality is that we are completely independent creatures, and that the only true enlightenment, or the only true light that you can bring to the world, is from within. And that's the only light you'll ever experience. Very similar to Stoicism.
Can I challenge you right now?
Yeah. I would love to. I would love you to challenge me, yes.
Why do you assign the values of good and evil to it? Can you view it as these are attributes that can be used for good and attributes that can be used for evil? For example, your ability to commit a healthy amount of violence. Some people can view it as evil because you can use violence in a very bad way. Your father, for example. Yeah. But then there's also positive ways to use violence, because you're not running around in the streets and beating up random strangers. You're not that dude in California, Charlie Zellin. I don't know if you know about that story.
I think I heard of it.
I'll tell you about it later. But you know, so like your ability to do violence. I mean, if a person breaks into your home in the middle of the night, I feel bad for that person, because they're gonna get the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, my dog's probably gonna bite them too.
Or your dog. That's right. You got a big dog.
Yeah, German Shepherd.
Yeah. I mean, so why do you assign the values of evil to those parts within yourself? Can you change your perspective on them and see them as just attributes of things you're capable of, and you can use them for construction instead of destruction?
Absolutely, but it's treading the line between the two that becomes the difficult part, right? Because like I mentioned, the yin and the yang, they exist on the border of each other. And to truly access the depth of life that I seek to access on a more selfish perspective, I enjoy and appreciate life the most when I'm on the edge between the two, between darkness and light, when I can see the chasm, but I'm on top of the mountain, you know? And I think of it this way. I think that while I can, and my mind is very flexible and adaptable, and while I can, you know, develop the intent to do things that I may think of as evil, like, you know, violence or hurting another person, in the pursuit of goodness, like protecting my family and their welfare, it's also a very selfish act, and it's a very mortal act. It's an act of this world, because I'm protecting what exists within this world, as opposed to protecting the sanctity and the almost internal vision of enlightenment, and, you know, not indifference, but it's like a spiritual strength, that there is an external world that like oversees this world, you know? Like it's like, man, that's what faith is. That's what like utter and absolute faith is if you can leave the vicissitudes of this world to the dangers of this world and have faith that there is something greater above. Man, that's kind of deep.
Because Taoism, actually, if you actually delve deep into it, Taoism, Hinduism, Buddhism, like, it doesn't teach you that there's good and evil.
Yeah.
Yin and yang, it gets a little diluted because of Western perspectives of when they teach, because Abrahamic religions are very clear on what's good, what's evil, right?
Yep.
Buddhism, Taoism doesn't actually teach you good and evil. Good and evil. It teaches you there's like, the best way I found to describe it to people is, I'm actually Buddhist myself, is that there's things you could do for construction, there's things you could do for destruction,
Yeah.
and neither one is good or bad. You can use destruction for positivity. For example, if I need to tear down this building, I'm going to destroy it, and then I'm going to build something on top of it, and that's going to further mankind, that's going to further my community, that's going to further my society. Like, if someone wants to hurt me and I destroy that person in whatever form that exists in,
Yeah.
I've protected people. That's a good thing. But at the same time, like things can happen to you in good and evil, but good and evil are just values that you assign to something. Because if you remove the front part of our brain that has emotional thoughts about the world, you're left with just pure reaction. We become just like the animals in the Serengeti. A lion kills a gazelle because it needs to eat. Is it committing evil? No. If it doesn't eat the gazelle, it's gonna die. And a spider, are spiders evil? No, they catch mosquitoes, bees, flies, whatever, right? But then, like, if they're not catching like bees might overpopulate and just wipe out all the other animals. The reason I bring that up is because we apply that to humans. The things that we do, like, if you believe in butterfly effects, everything that we do has like an infinite effect in every way that we don't understand. Like, just by me getting into my car in the morning and driving to work, I may stop at a red light and the person behind me, if I wasn't there, would have blown past it, causing a car accident. But me just driving like I normally do, stop that person and stop the accident from happening. I will never know about that. So when I hear people talk about like the goodness and evil, I always want to challenge them to think of it. Don't think of it as good and evil. Just think of it as these are actions, and it could have a net negative, it could have a net positive. You never know, because again, like, prostitution is the way out of North Korea for some women. I'm not saying it's a good solution, but starving in North Korea is not much better. It's worse than that. I don't know if you read a Yeonmi's Park book. It's actually a really good book. She escaped to North Korea at the age of like 13 or something. It's a pretty harrowing book. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that perspective of removing good and evil and just using them as measuring points?
I think it's very enlightened because it's accepting of the world as it is, and it seems like a more efficient system to view things through, because it removes the emotionality out of, or like the gut impulse. But I also think that there's a level, like, I think if you're viewing it that way, that evil and goodness become a gut reaction. Like, it's more like, this is what your gut tells you is evil.
Well, it's more like if there's enough net negative from these actions.
Exactly.
That's when it becomes bad.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not like an absolute of no good and evil. But you have to measure the net negatives and net positives, and it's a difficult scale to balance.
Yeah, because I came up with this quote, my quote. I think that dark and light are twins. And if you don't get to know both of them, then you'll confuse them for each other consistently.
100%.
And I think that they kind of interact. Sometimes they become one, sometimes they become two. It's a strange and interesting world because, like you said, there's a butterfly effect. And one thing that may be dark in this specific timeline, let's say that, and I truly believe that the world is cyclical in nature. If you look at, the cycle of history from nation to nation, country to country, there's always a cycle of prosperity and, let's say poverty, right? Prosperity, poverty, prosperity, poverty. And it's cycling, and it cycles from nation to nation. It's like this nation will now be the leader, this nation will be impoverished, and then the scales will tip, and the water will flow in the other direction, and over time, they switch back. And it's all just cyclical. So if you look at the cycle that we exist within, it depends on the time frame. So evil to me, right? I've defined it as human trafficking because I view human trafficking as one of the most terrible things that could happen to my children. Now that's a timeline that's 100 years old, right? So if I take it and I look at it over a timeline of 1,000 years, and I look at human trafficking in this instance for now, human trafficking has built the pyramids. It's built America.
The Great Wall.
It's built the Great Wall. Right? It's built all of these functions of society and these different structures that eventually may lead to a far, far greater and better society in the future. I'm not capable of understanding or knowing whether or not that's true, but it definitely has to be considered that the timeline, it's like the timeline perspective that you apply to life creates what is evil and creates what is good. Mm-hmm. Like I truly believe this, like the reason why we all look at Elon Musk and we're like, God damn, that guy's fucking amazing, is because he's on a relatable timeline that like relates enough to the masses that we can look at it and be like, oh, that would be great, amazing, tunnels under LA, no more traffic, wow. But he's also on a timeline that's large enough that it will encapsulate our imagination and keep us like in wonderment, because we're like, where does this story that he's creating in the world actually go? Because he's so far ahead of everyone. He's just thinking ahead.
We're going to Mars.
Exactly. He's thinking about Mars.
He's putting chips inside of all of our brains.
Yeah. So now, what I may think is like a massive goal of like let's end human trafficking, right? He's just like, well, actually, if you look at the variables and look at human trafficking, it's kind of a net positive. It keeps, society sustained and balanced until we can reach Mars.
That was a really good impression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like have you heard like about there's a narrative online that some people have been pushing that black people in America should be thankful that they're here, because if the slaves were never brought here to America, then they'd be stuck in the Congo or Rwanda right now.
Where slavery is still happening.
Yeah, where bad shit is like.
Yeah.
Rwanda happened within our lifetimes.
Yeah.
1 million Tutsis got murdered, genocided by a bunch of Hutus, and that's within our lifetime.
Yeah.
Over the course of 1 month. 1 million people.
Coney.
That's crazy.
Coney's over there. They just had, like a year ago, slave auctions on YouTube in Sudan. Like, they're actually, I think I heard this, and don't quote me on it, it may be incorrect, but I heard that there are more slaves today than there were when the abolitionists decided to, engage, or when we had our Civil War and we fought to free all the slaves. Like, there are more slaves now.
I mean, by virtue of just human population, we just surpassed 8 billion. That mathematically makes sense.
Yeah.
It's still crazy to think about, though.
We're very blessed to be here.
We are very blessed to be here. Like the poorest person in America is still better off than like even some rich people in other countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanna go back to the fight?
I feel like I want to get back to the fight, but this is such a good topic that I'm like, I don't know which one. I honestly don't know which one to discuss right now.
It's very interesting, but I think we've gone wide enough on the lens that we need to narrow somewhere.
So I'll just say one last thing, and then we'll get to fighting, because we've been talking for 53 minutes about this stuff. Yeah. So have you heard of like the I don't know the name of the test, but I'll describe it to you. So they brought in a bunch of people into a lab. They brought a bunch of people into a lab, and they told them, right, so there's a dial of like 1 through 100 right here, right, and in front of you is a person that's hooked up to a bunch of electrical diodes, and we're gonna go until that person can't take it anymore, right? So 1 being like just a prick, 100 being like we're gonna like fry this guy's body into the stratosphere. and behind them was like a scientist. I'm saying it for the crowd, for the viewers right now, because I think you're familiar with what I'm talking about.
I am. I know what you're talking about.
Yep. So like they hit one, and the person hooked up to the electrical goes and then go 2 and then they go like 15. And then the person's like screaming like a little bit louder, but then the scientist is standing behind them saying, no, keep going, you know? And then the people, like they keep going higher, and they're like at like 80, and the guy over on the chair is like, please stop, I can't take this anymore. What they didn't know was that guy is just an actor. There are no electrodes. And they were just testing at what point does a person stop when an authority figure is behind them telling them to keep going. And what that experiment tells me and other people is that like you said, darkness exists. The ability to cause destruction exists within every single human being, and the ability to tap into that is ridiculously easy, especially when there's an incentive or an authority figure like right next to you that doesn't even have a proverbial gun to your head. It's just saying keep going.
Yeah. And like, what was it? Like most of the people killed the subject.
Most like 85-90% of the people like went up to like levels that if that person was hooked up would have died.
Yeah.
But they kept going. Yeah. So like, you made me think about that, and just it is important to recognize that we're all capable of destruction, and that it's not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So where does fighting fit into your grand plan? I know you said you wanted to be a world champion one day. I believe you can do that. You've got the skills. I've seen you punch people.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and I know you said you want to like get on stage, but like why specifically that? Because you can go so many other routes. You could easily get a guy like you can surround yourself with like 50 beautiful women and then just do the Andrew Tate route or the Ty Lopez route. But you've chosen to do I'm not going to say Conor McGregor route, the Paddy Pimblett route. I would say Paddy Pimblett because there was that one fight where after the fight he revealed that one of his friends had died like that morning, and then he did like a really heartfelt message of like, hey, like if you're a man and you're going through shit, say something, because I'd rather sit there and watch you cry than see you inside of a casket.
Yeah.
So why are you choosing the Paddy Pimblett route?
It is the most developmental process as a person that I've ever experienced. So
fighting?
Yeah, the whole system of it, you know, like accepting death over and over again, and you know, developing skills and showing up to something that's hard every day, and you know, it's also been like, man, I'm blessed to say that I have an incredible amount of talents. Like, I'm an artist in many ways. Like, you know, I've done chalk murals. I'm a really good, you know, vocalist actually. And I can like make songs. I make really good songs that people love. And like when I perform them, they're like, "What? Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were so good," you know. And I'm like, I'm relatively intelligent. I'm very good with people. I have a lot of really, really, really good skills that could make me extremely successful. But above all of it, you know, like I really do prioritize more than the material world, my self-development. Like I just could not live with myself if I did not pursue the path which developed me the most in this lifetime. Like I fully believe in accessing and developing and using my potential to its fullest amount. And you know, this has been one of the areas where, while I've been naturally gifted and talented in a lot of areas, this I've been the most talented in. This has been the hardest, and this has grown me the most as a person. So this is what I must do.
Is it more talented because you put more effort into developing it, or just like where did that talent originate from?
I'm fucking good at it for no reason. like I'm just like I've done a lot of things to experiment and find out who I am and what I'm good at. And I've always been a naturally good artist. Like I can just imagine something and it's in reality I've created it. And I've always been very like technical and skilled in a lot of other analytical ways, and you know, specifically with people, I've been very skilled, but nothing has ever like launch padded so fast for me than fighting. Like I'll see a move, practice it a couple times, and boom, now I have a new skill unlocked, and I can use it with relatively good efficiency. And the path towards like mastery of that skill is the hard part. But I noticed that I was excelling at developing and understanding techniques and different skills and applying them under intense situations a lot faster than some of my peers. But at the same time, it's that's it. I naturally noticed that of all the things that I'm talented at, that one is the thing that I've gotten the best at the fastest because I love it. But also I think I just naturally have an aptitude for it. My grandfather was actually like a carbon copy of me almost, apparently. On my father's side, I didn't know this until a couple years ago. I was talking to my mom, I was like, yeah, it's weird. I'm the only one in the family over 6 foot tall, red hair, tan skin, green eyes. And she's like, actually, your grandfather was all of those things. And he was a Puerto Rican street boxer.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so it's in my blood, apparently.
Puerto Ricans get down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Miguel Cotto.
Yeah, bro. I'm mostly Puerto Rican.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed.
Most people don't.
You have like the Canelo thing going on. Like you're a Spanish guy with light skin and red hair. Like you sure you're not Irish?
Something about I'm a little Irish. I got Irish in there on my mom's side.
Yeah, that explains the.
Yeah, but actually the Puerto Rican had. Like, my Puerto Rican grandfather was Irish.
Yeah.
Or not Irish. My Puerto Rican grandfather had red hair.
Yeah, my Puerto Rican grandfather was Irish.
He was not Irish.
Yeah, okay. I mean...
Something about that combo, that, Spaniard red hair combo just makes us excellent fighters.
I was born the wrong race.
I don't know. You guys got some fucking amazing genes, too.
Oh yeah, fucking amazing. Oh yeah,
Bruce Lee, fucking martial arts comes from what's your actual ethnicity breakdown?
100% Chinese.
Bro, martial arts comes from that land.
Probably some part of Mongolia because Genghis Khan did his thing.
Yeah, or at least all the most effective martial arts that we know of today come from over there.
Yeah, it's just a little sad because when I look at the list of fighters that China's producing right now and the whole the whole Xu Xiaodong thing where the guy's just he's an MMA fighter who's going around beating up these Tai Chi master guys. I'm just
so sad.
I'm like, oh God. Yeah. But which is why I do cheer so hard for Zhang Weili because she's a monster. She's one of those chicks where I'm like, she could beat up dudes.
Bro.
She could walk into my gym and beat up pretty much everybody that's not named Kai and Chase.
Yeah. She got a lot of those Attila the Hun genetics.
Yeah.
Conqueror,
All right. So, are you going to stay with just Muay Thai, or are you going to delve into other styles as well? MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling?
I'm secretly going to train Jiu-Jitsu on the side. And probably Judo, maybe a little Sambo.
Secretly?
Yeah. I think...
Are we allowed to talk about it?
Well, yeah, we're fine. I'm small enough right now. But in the future...
Yeah, I've got 400 subs.
Yeah, well... maybe they'll pull this up in the future, but anyways,
blows up out of nowhere.
This will be secret. Like a couple years down the line, when I'm at the height, I'm really high up in the rankings, as high as I want to be, for kickboxing. Then I'll start negotiating. Maybe once I get a championship, I'll start negotiating maybe into MMA, and that's why I'm kind of thinking about training jiu-jitsu. Also, I hate the feeling of knowing that I'm, even at this point in my life as a striker, I could deal with 95% of people, 98% of people on the street.
Oh yeah. Easily.
But it annoys the hell out of me that I don't have equally as good grappling skills.
Yeah, because if a wrestler comes at you and you guys end up on the floor,
yeah,
all that goes out the window.
Well, I'm actually decent at jiu-jitsu. I've been training jiu-jitsu for a year combined time.
Oh yeah? At South?
No, I've trained at Fabio Nueve's jiu-jitsu.
Oh.
So he was he trained under the Gracies and whatnot. And I've trained at a couple other jiu-jitsu spots, and I trained at Premier Martial Arts up in Pennsylvania where I learned some jiu-jitsu too.
Yeah.
So I'm I can beat a good amount of white belts.
now the question is, can you merge the two together? Because like something I discovered recently about 6 months ago is because I was sparring Gabo actually. Before he left, we were doing an MMA spar.
Oh,
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
Yeah, it was actually really a lot of fun, and I realized that there's like a specific like 2-second window in between like knocking someone down and then effectively like applying your jiu-jitsu and wrestling on top of them that I wasn't aware of.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. So have you figured out how to combine the two yet?
No.
Yeah, and the only reason I can combine is because no one's ever taught me to. I mean, yeah, John Ortle could probably teach you.
I was thinking about Kai's. A couple different areas have like really good MMA coaches, but yeah, I'll have to talk to Dato. I don't want him to feel like I'm, abandoning or like betraying him. Mm-hmm. But I do want to look at some MMA routes as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is
the reason why are you pursuing MMA then? Is it because you want to get a bigger message, or you're just challenging yourself?
It is the
or is
best.
It all of it?
It's the best. Like
highest level of fighting.
Exactly. You don't know this, but I actually I love jiu-jitsu.
What the hell are you doing at Tampa Muay Thai?
I love Muay Thai more.
Okay.
For now, but I love jiu-jitsu. Like last time I went over to Mamo's gym on like a Sunday and like rolled. Mm-hmm. It was like just like open mat rolling, and I was smiling the whole time, just like cheesing, because I love all of it. I love every level of fighting, like whether or not it's on the ground or it's stand up. Like I really, really do love it, and I love jiu-jitsu too. Like it's so fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wrestling background?
No, but I do naturally have a pretty good knack for jiu-jitsu naturally too. I remember the first time I was rolling, and like Fabio Nuevis, he's like well renowned in this area, and he actually has a lot of assassins in his gym.
Gi or no gi?
Gi and no gi, both. Okay. But I remember the first night I went there, it was like kind of like an introductory, and I was just like allowing myself to free flow because I knew a couple basic submissions, like a Kimura, Americana, rear naked, arm bar, basic shit. But I was rolling with a blue belt, and I was at that stage where I'm learning, but I still also want to free flow, and like if I find something, I find something. And I locked him up in a twister.
Oy. Without
even like knowing how to do it, right? And so I just I was like, well, I've got leverage somehow, and I've got him trapped up, and I started twisting. I was going very slowly, but he wouldn't tap, and eventually I injured him on accident, and it he pulled something in his back.
Yeah, twisters are dangerous.
Yeah,
I mean submissions are, but twisters especially so.
Yeah, but like Fabio was watching. He was watching, waiting for the tap, and I was going very, very slowly. I wasn't like yanking it. I was going slow, and then his back just gave, and I submitted his blue belt in my first day, and he was a good blue belt too. It's just I had a natural knack for it.
So what's your plan then? Do you have like a series of steps that you're going to look to execute on your journey? Like what's your next few things? Answer that, and then we'll talk about your upcoming fight next.
I'm applying a new program to my training. So I'm going to treat it like a course curriculum, like a college, because I've been saying it long enough. I'm like, I've been doing this for 6 years. I should have like a master's degree in kicking ass. So I'm basically implementing a course curriculum for myself, where I'm going to study like new and different techniques. And if I can, I'll get like individual coaching and go to like separate gyms for like separate techniques and whatnot. Like, karate, taekwondo, they all have like, valid and, applicable techniques. It's just time and space. So I'm going to implement a new course curriculum. I'm going to do online, studying times. And my next course of action is to streamline my training to the point where I have a system that can allow me to advance faster than anyone else and get to the top as quickly as possible.
Mm. You ever spar a Kyokushin guy?
No.
Those guys close distance like no one else.
Ooh,
yeah, because Kyokushin is all about how to land a single heavy ass punch or kick that finishes the fight. So their whole goal is, yeah. So
I love that.
Yeah. So my boy does Kyokushin, and I sparred him. The only thing that sucks about Kyokushin is they don't train you to they don't do head shots. Well, they do head kicks, but not like head punches. So every punch is like going towards your chest. but they go boom so
They
fast.
just thump you.
Dude was like in front of me. There was like a fist like right here, and then like he just backed off. I'm like, the fuck just happened? But yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
I would love to learn more about that.
yeah. Look into Kyokushin, guys, and
I think Kyokushin and Judo combo, fucking like that sounds deadly.
yeah. At that point, your name is Lyoto Machida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know if he did judo. He definitely did BJJ and Kyokushin karate though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So you got a fight coming up.
Yes, I do. I'm very excited for it.
Tell me about it.
So my opponent is Jackson Taylor, and It's Freedom Fighter Promotions. We're going to be fighting out in Miami, and it's actually what's today? Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's in 6 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 days.
But when this drops, it'll be the day after.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is gonna drop next week.
Oh yeah. Maybe you'll be able to put like some highlights up right next to it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll see. I'll be streaming it from here just because that fight's on a Friday, so I'll be streaming from here.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get the video recorded.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. If it works out, it'll play at the end of this video for you guys who love seeing wanton violence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I've done all my shit I need to do from here. I'm relaxing, shadowboxing.
Don't heavy spar right now.
Hell no. Today was the last day of heavy sparring.
Yeah.
A little heavy sparring. Not crazy.
Even that's reckless.
I know.
Because Justin got his nose broken like a week before his fight.
Yeah. Nope. That didn't happen. Luckily.
Yeah.
No injuries. But I'm gonna go out in nature and appreciate this world as it is, which is I actually appreciate this conversation because I think that's gonna like seep into my meditation and acceptance time because I'm gonna go out to the springs over the weekend and I'm just literally going to accept the world as it is, appreciate it for all it's been, all I have, and accept that if it all goes away, that's fine. I'm glad I had it.
Do you have other than spending time with friends and families and accepting your death, do you have like a specific pre-fight ritual day of?
Day of. No. The day of, everything is so taken care of beforehand that when I get there the day of, it is just existing in that moment. It's purely that moment. There's nothing else to be done. I am in the moment 100%, mind, body, and soul connected and working towards a singular goal. Just beating some ass.
Oh yeah. So I'm gonna see you at one championship one day or UFC one day.
I expect to be there one day, yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah.
Definitely excited. Anything final thoughts on anything we've covered? Anything shout outs you want to give? How can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so final thoughts, I think it was a really good conversation and I'm really glad we had it because it definitely helps me on my my journey. And I would say shout out to the whole Tampa Muay Thai fight team. Shout out to Coach Dato. Shout out to Kai. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Ida, who's a new fight team member, but has helped me so much during this fight camp. Just shout out to the whole team because without them, I wouldn't have anywhere near the amount of skill, and I wouldn't be nearly as close as I am to developing into the fighter that I know I can become.
Still going to war with Chase on sparring days?
That was a good day. All right. This will sound like it's coming from my hurt ego, right? I knew Chase was, I know he can beat my ass, but I also baited him into it and then pulled back. I gave him a little too much on purpose, and then I let a little bit of me let him beat my ass. Because I was in a mental state that day where I was just like I need someone to beat my ass.
I remember that day.
Yeah. So I pulled back. He was throwing pa with a lot of power to the gut.
Yeah.
And I could have thrown back hard, but I made the mental decision to accept my ass whooping. Because I wanted an ass whooping, and I'm the one that instigated, so I accepted it as part of my own punishment. Mm-hmm. But I just want to say, for the record, I could have thrown back.
How much of that was hurt ego?
I'd say 20%. 30% at the most. That was her ego, yeah.
Thank you so much. This conversation was dynamite. I really look forward to watching your journey and seeing your development, and then cheering for you one day.
Mm-hmm.
And
thank you.
And walking up to people will be like, yeah, I know that guy. I got a video with him.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
I appreciate it. I hope this helps.
This is what I like to do.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, brother.
Keep doing it.
All right. And that was 1 hour.
Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, please welcome to the ring, Red Alejandro Torress.
A ti sí te voy a arrancar la cabeza. I'm gonna chop your head off. A ti no te voy a tener compasión. A ti no te voy a tener nada de compasión.
Shut the fuck up, put the fucking guns up. They look at me and think, man, that's one local motherfucker. The young homie trapping out the lunch truck. If you try to rob him, he ain't pussy, he gon' buck. Yeah, don't try to play me for no junkie. On the internet, he hard, but in real life, he Humpty Dumpty. Cracking under pressure like a white bitch with no sunscreen. I don't ride no waves, man, I go under him like submarines. I just got a man, he hands are looking beautiful. You look like you don't shower, you got dirt under your cuticles. You talking shit, but I can't hear you from your cubicles. I text your lady, told her don't shave off your cubicles. I'm well known all across the line. Who want the smoke? Watch me turn into a Rasta man. Blacka, blacka, I'm one local Mexican. I bring a knife to a gunfight, I'm crazy, son. Ain't no love where I rest my head. She with a vest, coming live from the Wild Wild West. 100,000, man, that ain't no flex. I seen the youngin' make a milli off of fraudulent checks. Even tough guys drop like flies, cause where I'm from, shit, not even the strong survive. Make a toast, cause we still alive, cause where I'm from, shit, not even the strong survive.
Yeah, they rather see us dead or locked up in a penitentiary. Sleep with body armor for the weapons formed against me. I'm a big dog, you a poodle, you a Frenchie.
Introducing his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, give a warm round of applause for Action, Jackson Taylor.
Let me tell you about one cold-ass human. Like a modern-day Superfly superhero, something like that. With the cool shades, the long white beard, never sheds a tear. Always looking fly as can be, in a three-piece suit to boot, baby. You wanna know what's going down? You talk to Jackson. You need something unique? You talk to Jackson. If you need a hookup, you talk to Jackson. That's right. And that's exactly why we call him Action Jackson.
If you want satisfaction, talk to Action Jackson. If you want satisfaction, talk to Action Jackson.
Yo, NIC, AJ is the man with the plan, the kind of brother who does the best he can. Anything you want, he'll provide. Cause ain't no shame, he don't mind it. No, 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 no. Close mouth, don't get head. Don't you fret, get out your head. Remember what the people say.
If you want satisfaction, talk to Action Jackson. You can talk to him right now. If you want satisfaction, talk to Action Jackson.
The following contest is presented by Resilient Fightwear. Taking place in the super middleweight division, this bout is scheduled for 3 2-minute rounds. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, this fighter holds an official record of 1 win opposite of no defeats, officially weighing in at 76.6 kilos. He hails from Tampa, Florida. He represents Tampa Muay Thai. Give it up for Red Alejandro Torres.
His team is really
Introducing his opponent,
I've never
fighting
seen
out of the
this
red
fighter.
corner, this fighter holds an official record of 1 win opposite of no defeats. He officially weighed in at 75.3 kilos. Coming to us tonight by way of West Palm Beach, Florida, he represents Florida Kickboxing Academy. Please welcome to the ring, Action Jackson Taylor. Your referee in charge, Andrew Glenn.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Freedom Fighter Promotions. I am one of your commentators, Kyle Edwards, and sitting here with me is crew Dave Gomez.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the fights, ladies and gentlemen. So, kicking off the first fight is going to be Jackson Taylor in the red corner, going up against Alejandro Torress in the blue. Jackson fighting out of the Florida Kickboxing Academy. Then we have Alejandro Torress from the Tampa Muay Thai. Both fighters have just one fight apiece, both with W's to their name. What a great sweep by Jackson right there on Alejandro. Both fighters trying to get to the center presence of the ring right now. Trying to make each other feel. Now they're up against the ropes. Nice little clinch, some knees to the body.
Jackson is good at playing that long game, and he's a real long guy.
Seems like both fighters are trying to get in tighter, or at least make it a little bit dirty. Both exchanging the clinch position on each other, rotating. Seems like they're down to get dirty. A lot of body shots right now. Those are going to add up later in the rounds.
Absolutely. Especially all these knees.
Nice head kick, just missed. Alejandro with the forward pressure right now.
He's doing a great job of moving in and covering that space. Aggressive style.
But Jackson's doing a good job kind of smothering those punches as they come in, but he's getting a little bit overwhelmed. He's allowing himself to get pushed back. He needs to come forward on our front step a little bit more to start answering.
Oh.
Nice catch.
Good timing on the catch.
Right as we're saying something, he answers. Let's see if he can keep that presence in the middle. Coming in a little wide, Alejandro is right there. But he was able to secure the clinch, both exchanging knees back and forth to the body.
Jackson really wants to keep his space, and Alejandro's doing a good job of pressuring forward, but getting hit on the breakaways.
Nice head kick by Jackson right there to end the round. You know, both fighters seem to put on a lot of pressure on each other right there. It seemed that Alejandro was able to put the forward pressure, but Jackson did a good job of securing the clinch in the need-to-be moments.
It's true. I think judging this one might be tough, but I'm going to give this one slightly to Jackson for a little more effective knees and stuff.
Young gun don't want that back calling me splurge. Ride me jump right off the curb. Make this man fly like a bird. Spin on the first and the third. Solid, I'm keeping my word. Can't be my equal, I don't know what you heard. Crack up the foreign, I swear. Keep me a stick if they purge. Young gun don't want that, they working my nerves. I'm about to pull some serve. Fucking this bitch like a perm. Smack from the back, grab a perm. Ice, the bird. Shitting on all you little turds. Can't take that dick, wait your turn. In my own lane, we can't merge. So with no heads, you can learn. Let's see how much you can earn. Why me go big like the worm? And I ain't smoking no shern. I'm in the beat with P. Liddy. QP.
Round two for Jackson Taylor versus Alejandro Torress. Both fighters take the center of the ring. Let's see how they both interact right now, as both of them were trying to compete for that center in the first round.
Good body kick right off the bat from Jackson.
Nice teep, just missed. Nice inside body.
Alejandro coming forward again.
Got caught with that knee by Jackson.
It's true. Oof.
Head kick just missed. Jackson's being really active with his feet in the early going to this fight.
I think that's a good strategy. He's a long guy. He needs to stay out there.
Alejandro is having good pressure, but Jackson seems to be the counterfighter, almost as if he wants that to happen. Because he's not putting that front foot forward, but yet he's the one that is making the damage whenever they interact.
It's true. He's drawing him in.
Oh, but Torress right there with the counter.
Good right hand. Good overhand behind it. Oh.
Great pressure by Torress right now. Jackson isn't answering quite efficiently as he was in that first round. Let's see if Torress can keep that going.
In Thailand, there's a word, they say roop, and it's showing your confidence even in the face of damage. Alejandro is all about it.
Right down the middle. Great knees to the body by Torress. But Jackson staying active with the feet. 3 straight body kicks to Torress. Oh. What do we have here? Stopping.
Looked like a mouthpiece fell out.
Mouthpiece? If it's a mouthpiece, that's a little bit awkward that a fighter would call
That
for
he
a
called
mouthpiece in the
For
action.
the stop himself. Never seen that.
I almost thought it was a groin strike for a second, but I missed it. But if it was the mouthpiece, that's a little different. Both fighters back in the center of the ring. Both trying to exchange those body knees. Another great body knee by Jackson.
I think Torress really has to keep it in that boxing range if he wants to land damage. He gets into the knees. It's not good for him. Oof.
I believe Torress needs to be in or out. So far, he's been trying to be all the way in, which is actually smothering the kicks by Jackson right now. But there has been times where Jackson's been able to capitalize, especially with him coming in fast and getting those knees to the body. I mean, Alejandro has had his moments, especially pressuring. That round's going to be pretty tough to judge.
Hard. I think I'm leaning towards Torress, though. He had a lot more moments of moving forward. That right hand is doing a lot of work for him.
Especially that first about 45 seconds of the fight, trying to dominate that center of the ring.
I need me a slick bitch. We're gonna go on finesse something. Scratch something. I'm fucking the game wrong. Like I'm trying to catch something. X something. You thought I was straight, nigga. Hell no, I'm cut though. Back though. Her ass wasn't that big, but her pussy was fat though.
Jackson is impressing me, man. He just started fighting not that long ago. I was at his first smoker fight just a few months back, and he's looking great.
No, Jackson definitely is looking tough right now. He's being supremely active with his kicks. It seems like that's what he's looking for, and beyond that, as Torress gets close, he's looking for that counter punch, but he seems to set the tone with the kicks. Legs, body, and head. The head seems to be whiffing at the point. Looks like he's trying to find that perfect moment as Alejandro comes into the center. But as that's happened, when those kicks aren't landing, Alejandro's getting the better of Jackson. He's almost smothering those kicks and getting some points of his own. And that's why I have a 1-1 right now leading into the third.
I agree. Everything we just said, it's a battle of the punches of Alejandro and the kicks of Jackson.
Round 3 starts right now for the Jackson versus Alejandro. Both fighters seem to be feeling each other out.
Jackson's really got to get himself moving forward here. If you let Alejandro run in, oof. Good right hand from Torress.
Great action right now.
Good knees, good clinching with Jackson. He's getting the better of all those knees in the range of clinch.
Both Jackson and Torress seem to be comfortable in the clinch. But they're both landing, and they're both not wanting to separate, it seems like.
I'd love to see Jackson off-balance him and turn him a little bit and set up some of those knees.
Torress is definitely starting to throw some leg kicks right now. A little too late, but I like where he's going with it. He's got to slow down the kicks from Jackson, and a lot of times, kicks cancel out kicks.
Keeping him occupied, yeah.
Exactly. 55 seconds left in the final round, the opening bout of Freedom 17, Freedom Fighter Promotions.
Torress moving in with some aggressive punches. And then getting kicked.
Good pressure by both fighters. Alejandro coming forward, takes a counter left as he comes in, but not before landing 4 of his own. Jackson with a good head kick, but gets pressured by Torress on the answer. Torress is calling for a groin shot right now. I missed it. I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Is that the second supposed groin shot?
Time he stops the fight on his own.
Right.
We don't need a ref here. Torress is doing a great job by himself. Andrew Glenn really is a great referee. The referee we have tonight refed one of my fights and a few of my son's fights as well.
Oh, amazing. It's great to have a veteran referee in there, knowing that the fighters are protected and with the experience to hopefully protect the fighters as it goes on a little bit longer. You know? All right, both fighters back in the center. It seems like they both recovered. Jackson pushing forward with the kicks. Nice counter left on the inside as Alejandro comes in. Alejandro answered with a low kick and a straight right of himself. And 0 time left on the clock, but the referee hasn't called it. Not for sure what's happening. We'll take it. There's the end of the third round.
That was a little surprising. But a really good match, good action back and forth.
Great fight, sponsored by Resilient Fightwear, as you saw as the clock came through and transpired. Freedom Fighter Promotions tonight is bringing you Freedom 17. Freedom 17 is the 17th fight under the Freedom Fighter Promotions banner. We have 3 title fights for you tonight, and not only is it 3 title fights, but the #1 main event is for the undisputed welterweight Freedom World title tonight against Luis the Savage Morales versus Marcos Vasquez. Luis, the 147 world champion within Freedom Fight, but also the Intercontinental champion, and Marcos being the Lion Fight veteran himself, coming in challenging Luis for his belts in his own backyard of Florida.
I've never seen Marcos fight, but I'm here from Miami, and I know that Luis Morales is like a legend to us here. He's had a tear around the world. He's fought internationally. He's fought some of the best there is, and he always makes a really exciting show. So I think we have a lot to look forward to.
That's right. Marcos, I know, is a big fan of leg kicks in his past previous fights I've seen. Not only his last Freedom fight, but also the previous fight with the Lion Fight Promotions. He is known for his low leg kicks, so we got to be on the lookout for that. But the reason why Luis is called Savage is because that is him in a hole. He is pressing forward. He has that straight left coming right at you. And if you think that you have his timing down, most of the time you are wrong.
Well,
right?
Coming from a guy who's sparred with him, I've lost a few brain cells on his behalf. His left hand is like a cannon.
Right? So I know everyone here in South Florida is rooting for the Savage, Luis Morales, but Marcos Vasquez is a game competitor. He came here, he's 22-2, Luis 30-8, but Luis has the headlines. He has the belts. He is the Intercontinental champion. He is the world champion. Okay, so Marcos has his night ahead of him.
Work cut out for him, for sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, after completing the scheduled 3 rounds, we have a split decision for your winner. Fighting out of the red corner, Action Jackson Taylor.
Well, crew, Dave, it looks like Action Jackson Taylor, his kicks were enough to be the deciding factor. I had it 2-1 for him, to be honest with you, but doesn't mean that Torress was coming up short. Torress had some great pressure. He just wasn't pointing up the amount. He wasn't giving up the amount of points that he needed to be able to counteract the kicks and the action from Jackson.
I agree.